where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Anybody see anything good on TV lately? I think that's what Mark Hamill said, right? Wasn't that what Mark Hamill, like his first tweet after the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian? That was his coy way of bringing himself back into the conversation. I was actually just flipping through Mark's Twitter now, thinking, well, maybe he's commented on it. I don't see anything yet. I don't see anything since I believe the day before. No, he's tweeting. He's not tweeting about Book of Boba Fett that I can see. And that's probably because, you got to give it a couple of days, I think, to get everybody watching the episode. You don't want to spoil something this big. Not that we haven't seen Luke Skywalker in the show before, but not in this way. Not for, damn near the whole episode. It was absolutely incredible. My reaction to it was very similar to when seeing Rogue One for the first time, and you see that incredible likeness of Peter Cushing, and you go, wow, that was a really cool little cameo and a little Easter egg. Isn't that wonderful? And then a few minutes later, he comes back into the movie, and then he's back into the movie, and each time he has like a longer scene, and you're like, holy cow, they're really doing this. And that's kind of what it was like with Luke Skywalker back in Book of Boba Fett. We're going to be talking about it, so if you... whether you've listened or not listened to Rebel Force Radio's Book of Boba Fett after show about Chapter 6, doesn't matter. Or we're still going to be talking about. There's some loose ends or some things that we want to still chat about. We also have coming up on the show in just a few moments. We've got the Grand Poobah of the ICCCon, Michael Havens, and Michael is going to be announcing a very, very big guest coming to the show. So you don't want to miss that. That's our first Rebel Force Radio's first convention appearance in a couple of years, and probably for many people, their first convention in many years. So we'll be checking in with Michael. It's always good to talk to him. Plus, Sebastian Stan. Finally, as far as I know, I think this is the first time he's actually talked about all of this demand, and you can't even really call it rumors. It's just like there's this like pent up fan demand for him to play Luke Skywalker. We got some clips of him, plus Star Wars and pop culture, and as I say, more a Book of Boba Fett chatter, because we just can't stop talking about Book of Boba Fett. And I know one guy who really can't stop talking about Book of Boba Fett, and that's my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Yep, we're back. We're not deep faked. This is the real deal right here. So many people were just amazing with their skills when it comes to manipulating videos, and they do it with such speed and quickness. I was really blown away that everyone had to improve Cad Bane's look as he appeared in the Book of Boba Fett and put out their take on the visual effect.
Yeah.
Where these people, I don't know how they do it. This just blows me away. But they make Cad Bane look more like he did in the animated series. I think that's, fun and what have you. It's a little unnecessary. I was quite pleased with Cad's menacing appearance in the Book of Boba Fett, and he fit in the show very realistically. It doesn't need to be a carbon copy of his animated appearance, because it looks cartoony actually compared to the rest of the environment and stuff. But I wish people would just stop wasting their time doing that and spend more time trying to take our RFR after shows on YouTube and fix me and Jason a little bit.
Yes.
I could really use it.
Now, Jim, if you were going to be deep faked
Yes.
What era would you pick? What age do you feel like you kind of peaked at? If you were gonna, because Mark Hamill is now kind of forever cemented as what, a guy in his mid to late 20s through the deepfake technology. So where's your deepfake pocket?
Well, see, I would take a different approach to it. Instead of de-aging, I would age myself because I don't think I've reached my peak yet. So I would appear much older if you were to deepfake me. Everyone else is trying to remove the years. I'm trying to add a few on.
Yeah.
So let's just cut to the chase here and get right into senior citizen life.
I appreciate it. I was actually looking for the video, the Cad Bane video. It was interesting. I should have taken a screen capture. You can find it on YouTube. It was shared with us. And I agree with you. I thought, it was magnificent in terms of, wow, some, schmo like us knows how to do this. But at the same time, the day after. It's like, I can do that better. But, you look at that guy, what's his name? Schnuka, whatever, the deepfake guy. And he got picked by Lucasfilm to go and work for the company because he was doing such a great job with some of that stuff. I mean, he famously sort of redid Tarkin after Rogue One. He redid Luke coming out of Mando season 2. So, some of these people are probably angling for a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. I guess I'm a little sensitive to it where it was like, with the prequels, it was like, well, everybody was going to be a better director and editor than George Lucas. And there was a party that was like, okay, guys, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He created the damn thing. What'd you do? You just sat on top of it and cut it up in a little bit different way,
Technology's made it so easy for anyone to make a phantom edit. Of Star Wars.
Yes.
And even to the point where improving the visual effects or whatever, molding the visual effects in a way that you feel is appropriate, that's fine. But like you, Jason, I like to respect the artistry that goes behind the special effects and trust the decisions made by the creators themselves, as opposed to having a fan come in and, quote, fix it. So I don't think
what would the fan edit of a Rebel Force radio episode be? It might be just all you.
Oh, unlikely.
It would be all you.
2 hours to yourself. Dead air is what it would be.
All right. Well, I am so excited about going to Nashville at the end of April. We've already got plans. We're bringing the family. I got my mom coming. We're going to have a good time. April 29th through May 1st, 2022. Jimmy Mack and I are going to be there at ICCCon. And the guy that is responsible for all of this is really a great inspirational story in and of itself, Michael Havens. So Michael reached out to you, Jim, and said he had a big announcement and wanted to do this right here on Rebel Force Radio.
Big exclusive announcement about ICCCon. Huge guest booking. That's all I know.
Okay.
But Michael wanted to make the announcement exclusively here on Rebel Force Radio. Of course, we'll be at the event ourselves. And as Jason said, he's bringing the whole family. So, he won't be so distracted.
No, I will. No. Look, wait a minute. Hold on. This is how I'm justifying.
You got me nervous.
I don't want you to be nervous because here's the thing. We've lived there before. So it's all very self-sufficient. So it's like, I'm doing the convention. Love you. See the kids. Go take them to the zoo where you used to work. I'll be with Jimmy. Yeah. But I'm dying. Parker has never seen a dealer room with all this stuff. And, I'm just dying for him to see that and Bailey to see, the artists. And so I want to have some time with him on the floor, but no, don't worry. Sure. I'm a professional.
Professional dad.
Yeah, right. It'll be fine. Hey, and I've also learned from watching you on the floor. All you got to do here's all you got to do when you got the kids with you at a convention is do what Jimmy Mack does and have a big wad of cash and just hand out money. Just dole it out. Dad, there's this Nintendo game. All right, what's it cost? Grumble. But that keeps them away. At least keeps them occupied.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Money can pay for silence, and that's what I spend it on. So,
all right. Well, let's check in with Michael.
Cash handy.
And hopefully they have an open bar there or a bar there because I know Deborah will like the wine. That'll help make the convention go down a little bit better for her. So,
yeah. Well, it's a hotel. I'm sure they have a bar.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, let's bring him on. Michael Havens from ICCCon. Hey, Michael. You have yourself muted, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can. Yeah.
I wonder what the ICC logo looks like. Never seen it before. It's on his shirt. It's on his hat. It's on the backdrop. I bet you got that tattooed on your ass too, don't you?
Not yet. It's going in a Boba Fett tattoo I got on my arm, but it's not there yet. It's pretty in depth.
Always be promoting.
That's right. That's right. That's the only way people come, man. How'd you hear about me? Not because I was quiet.
Yeah, right. There you go.
That's true. Well, it's good to have you back on the show. Thanks for dropping in. We're very excited about ICCCon. I'm confused sometimes because I'm like, how many C's are there? I have to count in my head.
There's 3 C's. It's Imperial Commissary Collectors Convention.
Okay.
So that's what we're going for. It's a collectors convention, but we have the ICCC so people can keep up.
ICCC. Love it.
ICCC.
And we had you on a while back, and you had such an interesting story about how you got into this racket, this business. And it seemed, if I remember right, it stemmed from some frustrations you had going to other shows, and you thought there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, I just thought that there's too much focus. Most of the shows that I've been to that are the bigger shows, they tend to be just for hyping up whatever the next new release is or whatever video you can see on YouTube 30 seconds later. And there's a lot of focus on the old way of doing things, even though more people attend cons nowadays. So they have extremely long lines that you sit in for an entire day that you waste your entire badge on to get one autograph. And there's no food ever unless it's $8 billion. Those kind of things I didn't really like. And those kind of things, they take away money from the people's pocket. And once you take away money from the people's pocket, they can't enjoy themselves as much. They can't have as much fun. They can't do as many things. Now, granted, our prices have had a rise over the years, but, guest stars are expensive. Putting on shows are expensive. And once you get to a certain level, it costs more. But we still keep our VIP badges cheaper than pretty much any other convention, but I can say cheaper than any major convention with A-list guest stars by far. Plus, we give food, drink. You get an entire day early, so Friday is only for VIP. And then our general admission is some of the best around because, see, I find a lot of the other conventions that I've ever been to, you walk around and you're like, oh, okay, there's this guest star, whatever. Wouldn't it be nice to get a picture of me walking by him? And maybe you don't have enough money for all the guest stars at the con. Maybe you don't have enough money for this. Maybe you want to get that vinyl Cape Jawa instead of the 50 autographs. There's choices to be made here.
Yes.
So
yes.
I feel if I try to keep it as low as possible, then people can make more of those choices and get more of those items. And I do that across the board, man. Everybody, one of the most popular questions right now is, how much is the autograph for this? How much is the autograph for that? How much is the autograph? My answer is it will literally be cheaper than everyone else charges. The thing is I have to wait till they go to these other cons and they do these other live signings and video signings. The Emperor, for example, Ian McDermott. I know he's doing a live signing. I think it's like $150 a thing or something like that. It's definitely going to be cheaper than that. I mean,
yeah.
And I'm not trying to pick on online signings, but I mean, their costs have to be a little bit less than mine, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy business idea because when you do that, you keep a lot of those costs low. They're spending more money in the dealer room. You've got happy dealers, and the guest is having more fun, and they're going to come back the next time. So, there must be something to this, keeping everybody as happy as possible, right? And giving them a great experience.
Well, it's like good old Southern hospitality. That's all it is.
There you go.
Entire thing.
You're Nashville hot, my man. You
That's
are
right,
Nashville
baby.
hot. And that's what I like.
Hot,
Southern hospitality. Tell me a little bit about these action figures, these exclusive action figures.
The exclusive action figure, I don't have them here. What happens is I have a custom maker on my group, Matt Brookins, and he makes some amazing customs, very, very high-end stuff where he makes it out of different kit bashing figures. If you're not a vintage Star Wars collector, you might not be aware what kit bashing is. Kit bashing is how they designed a lot of figures, one of them being Boba Fett. But what they would do is they would take little parts and pieces from all different toy lines and all different figures, and they'd meld them all together and stick them all together, and then they would mold those off of those, and that's how we would get the action figures we know. So Matt Brookins does the same thing. He does it in the old school Kenner fashion. So it takes absolutely forever, but they're beautiful. And what he does is he chops up like 5 different figures. And I mean, not nice figures, completely destroyed, beaters, missing heads, missing limbs. And he chops them up and he creates another figure out of that. Well, last year it was a huge hit. We had one figure. We had the Boba Fett one. I don't have it right here with me or I'd show you. But we have the Boba Fett one last year, and we had it on card and we had it in a box. So those were the 2 options that you could get it. Those sold out instantaneously. They were selling for double or triple immediately after. So they go really quick. So we decided this year we're going to do 4. Now, we've only released 2 of them. The first one is Boba Fett from the Transition Boba Fett. So that's what happens. He melds together these figures. Even his, how do I say this on TV? His nether regions is a Tusken Raider one. You know what I mean? It's not
his crotch. That's what we call it.
His crotchal area is a Tusken Raider instead of Boba Fett. So that's how he builds them. See how he's a little bit taller, and we even have cloth goods, unlike everyone else that manufactures toys.
Wow, beautiful! That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the Tusken Raider crotch just begs the question: does the sand really get everywhere? Yeah,
I know. Right? That's what the dress is for, so they can do a little jig, you know. Get it out of it.
Well, that's exciting. What kind of quantity are these going to be available at?
They're different quantities because we have 3 different packages, which have not been released yet. So I can't say the 3 different types of packages, but they're 3 things that we collect from back in the day. And what happens is there's a certain number available each day. So I don't know all the numbers offhand because he's still manufacturing. So it's as many as he can make. But right now, I think it's probably like 60 or 70 figures per day. But it's 4 different figures in 2 different styles of packaging, so it's not going to be that many each day. But we're trying to spread it out a little bit more so people have more of an opportunity. They go really, really quick. But they're cool. Actually, we're doing something super special this year. You guys know Kim Simmons. He pretty much took all the pictures for the back of the back of the card backs and stuff like that. Well, Kim Simmons is actually he's the guy who like took that yellow picture. That's a Kim Simmons picture. And anything like, you know, on the Slave One or Fire Spray or whatever you're calling it, on that, like that picture is his. The Millennium Falcon picture from the box is his. Anyway, Kim Simmons took the pictures that we remember from the packaging growing up. Now, Kim has been a really good friend of mine since we did the first IC meetup back in Kentucky in 2015, and there were 8 people there. And Kim came, and it was like, holy moly, this is Kim Simmons. You know, this is who I grew up with. And we became really good friends. He's come to the con every single year, and this year he is doing the actual art and pictures for our packaging. So yeah, there he is. Wow, way to get on the Google with speed, brother. Well done. But yeah, Kim Simmons is actually doing the artwork for these boxes. So our boxes are going to be the most vintage Kenner thing that has ever been released since 1986.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, good job. Good job. And we're happy to have you here on Rebel Force Radio this week because you have a huge guest announcement to make. And you're making this guest announcement here exclusively on RFR. And,
you guys,
so I'm pretty excited.
Actually, right now, nobody knows except for me. But so it's really crazy. Like, you guys are going to know before the rest of the world even knows, which is crazy. As you know, we got Mike Quinn that we released, and Stephen Constantino I released today. He was a great guy. A lot of guest stars from Star Wars, but the big one, the one I am here tonight to announce, the one that everyone is waiting on bated breath to hear, is this young fellow right here. This is C-3PO. and he is played by a fellow named Anthony Daniels.
Yes.
So
Whoa.
Yes. Thank you.
That's awesome, dude. What a get.
Huge. Huge.
So I'm planning on having two guys that have been in Star Wars and 8 Star Wars each or something that are going to be together. So that's what the ICCC is all about, though. It's about bringing a bunch of different people from a bunch of different walks of life together so they can play toys together. And I am very happy to be bringing the Emperor and C-3PO to Nashville, Tennessee. I mean,
wow,
this thing has been homegrown, man. So the sheer fact that I'm able to connect with these guest stars is, I mean, I'm a real nerd, you know? Like, this C-3PO,
these are your heroes.
So I'm living the dream, man. I have absolutely no complaints. I'm super duper excited to see what happens this year and to see the growth over the years from now. Because we've had some great guest stars, but we've never had anybody on this level. And now we have 2 on this level, and I have a whole bunch more guest stars I'm still going to be releasing. So I'm sure I will be back on Rebel Force a couple times because I have a couple more majors that still haven't come out yet. So be prepared, fellas. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. That's well, we're going to be there. It's going to be our first time at a convention since Wizard World Cleveland back in February 2020. I think that was it, right, Jim? I mean, right before it hit the fan. We got all the way to March?
Yeah, it was early March.
Oh, wow. All right.
We already did one of these right in the middle of the pandemic, so we know what we're doing.
Yes, yeah. You got to hear the story. It's a great story. We've got a fairly lengthy interview, so you can go ahead and check that out. Maybe we'll get the details on what episode that was last time we spoke with Michael. But
it was the Bad Batch one. That's how long ago it was. Bad Batch.
Bad Batch.
Yeah,
it was for the summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So ICC
when it was
is
still warm out instead of freezing cold everywhere.
In Nashville?
Yeah, come on.
What is it, a balmy 50?
40-something degrees today. That's cold, man. I had to take out my
you're talking to a couple of guys up in the Great Lakes region. We were, oh boy.
So the only time you get warm is when you're literally under snow, right?
Yeah, just about.
When you're in an igloo.
So there it is. The dates, April 29th through May 1st, 2022. April 29th, that's the Friday for VIP. And the weekend is just going to be rocking. And you're going to give us a place to do a podcast from.
Yeah, we have a podcast stage. You're going to love it, man. And it's actually nice and professional and everything. I mean, chairs, microphones. You'd be surprised.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Man. I know some of the bigger shows don't give you that. You got to bring your own gear.
We do a lot of different things in the bigger shows. For example, I know you guys got a lot of 501st and you got a lot of Rebel Legion that listen to your show because you're a phenomenal show. You're the voice of Star Wars nowadays.
Thank you.
Just to tell them, if they reach out to any of the local garrisons or legions or stuff, they have coupon codes because I actually give 50% off if you're actually going to troop. And I don't think any other con out there gives you any money off if you troop. Which I think is terrible because these people just bring joy to other people and it costs them a fortune.
And they make your show better, right?
On all those tickets.
Wow.
Dude, that's a class move. Let me just say, I want to be on the record as saying that is a class move.
Yeah, they work harder than anybody at these shows. They're in those buckets, man. It's 180 degrees. Forget about it.
Well, they add so much color and flavor to the event.
They do.
And they do it out of the goodness of their hearts too, because
they really
it ain't cheap to maintain that gear.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of money, man, and they have to put in a lot of money into it, and then the gear takes hits and stuff because they travel with it, so they're just constantly. It's like the worst car you ever had that just breaks down all the time. Where it's like, there's another $100, there's another $100. But
well, the question is, Michael, have you ever cosplayed yourself?
I have not. I am in the middle of building something secretly because I love everybody. I do. And I really love interacting with everybody, but I am a legit nerd. I'm sorry, I'm turning down my phone here. I'm a legit nerd, so I actually like to go to things and look around and enjoy things sometimes. And sometimes it becomes really hard because, as you guys notice, I always got the logo somewhere. Or I'm always loud and vibrant with a
hide, do you?
To tell, but it would be nice to just hide in a bucket one day and just walk around, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that would be cool.
Yeah. So that's a clue. That's a hint, maybe, what's going on with Michael. Well, yeah, it's a great way to be incognito. I mean, some of the biggest stars. I remember I think it was Celebration 2. Hayden Christensen went around with a Stormtrooper helmet on, and, you know.
We even got, what's his face there? Harry Potter was Boba Fett once.
Oh, that's right. Harry. Yeah, that's right. Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah.
Radcliffe.
Was in a really good Boba Fett costume. Of course, when you got Harry Potter money, you know. I don't think he was building it in his basement.
He was like 1-800 Boba Fett outfits. $3,000? No problem.
Right. Yeah.
$3,000, I'm dreaming. That was probably the helmet.
Right, exactly.
In Chicago, Matt Lanter came up to Swank, and he had a Stormtrooper helmet on. He was hiding from the masses.
I just found out, man. He's a really cool guy. He the Rebel, the Rebel Troopers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was a Rebel Trooper.
Yeah, in Mandalorian. Mandalorian, season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
It, you know?
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. Also happens to live down here in Nashville. That's strange.
He does. That is a coinkydink. He also
Matt's a great guy.
He is a great guy. And Michael, you're a great guy too. We can't wait to be hanging out with you. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm actually bringing my whole family down, including my mom. I used to live in Nashville. My mom lived there longer than I did, so we're going to have a great time. Cannot wait.
Well, you get to enjoy the city again too, man, and it's a beautiful place to be. It really is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Nashville and Star Wars. It's just going to be awesome. And I finally have got my collection organized where I have my needs list. I got my want list too, but I also have my needs list now. So I'm going to be definitely giving you guys some business there in the dealer room this year.
Well, I like that, man. That's the other thing. I try to keep the dealers at a low price compared to anywhere else. I mean, it's a third or a quarter of the price of most places that are this size with these kind of guest stars. And my dealers, when I walk around, they do very well. We have very few dealer tables left. You guys aren't dealing, but dealer tables, you could buy vendor tables there. We have very few left now. I'm sure after this, they'll all be gone. We do have some 8x5s this year, which are smaller. You could get 2 together for cheaper. So there are other options, but it's already been crazy because I think everybody was like, this whole time, everybody was like, there's no way he's putting William Shatner in a barn in Tennessee. And I did. And then I think they were like, there's no way he's doing it again. He took a bath on the entire Shatner debacle. And I did it again. And then they were like, there's no way he's going to do it. There's a pandemic. It's impossible. You can't even go to the grocery store. It happened. And here we are again with, man, I couldn't be more juiced. Because I love all the guest stars that have come, and they're wonderful people, and I love communicating with them in something. But as far as being a promoter and being somebody who started this from scratch with just kind of like an idea and a little bit of money in my pocket, the sheer fact that Anthony Daniels and Ian McDiarmid are coming here, to me, is I don't even know how to put it into words, and that's the one thing I do is I can put anything into words. But
well, congratulations, man! Congratulations. The website is iccollectorsconvention.com. The man is Michael Havens, and he's going to be running a tight ship come April. And we're really looking forward to the show. It sounds fantastic, Michael. So thank you so much for joining us. You'll be back, right, to make some big guest announcements?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I got 3 more that you guys are going to want to hear on your show first. But you can't have them yet, man. I got to do other stuff. And the freaking making those darn pictures are like murder, dude. Like with the graphics behind them and the other thing. And then,
all right, that episode is from July 22nd, 2021. That's a much longer sit down and chat with Michael. So you got to hear it because the story is awesome. And we're definitely looking forward to hanging with you again and in person. Like, wow, that sounds like so crazy these days. So, all right, well, you got a convention to plan, so we should let you go. But
I appreciate you having me on, man, and I love the show. Everybody make sure to check out icnashville.com, and then you guys got a coupon code, right?
We do indeed.
I've been seeing it hit on the website. Keep seeing Rebel Force 10 pop up, so something's going on.
Good.
Good. I'm glad people are taking advantage of it. I know a lot of people have reached out to me saying they can't wait for the show. They're really looking forward to it. And the link along with the code is available on rebelforceradio.com right there on our homepage. You'll see it over there. Use the code RebelForce10 at checkout to save 10% off your ticket price for ICCC, and we will see you there, and we'll see you there too, Michael Havens.
I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great night, and I'm going to listen to the rest of the show later.
Thanks, bud.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Take it easy, man.
Bye-bye. All right, those details just one more time. April 29th through May 1st, 2022. Use the code RebelForce10 at checkout for a great discount on your admission to ICCCon.
It's going to be a blast.
This is Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force, with Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack. The galaxy is listening.
Hey guys, chat to you. My name's Chris from Tennessee. Got a few thoughts about today's episode, but next week's episode with a crazy fan theory. First off, I'd just like to say, wow. We'll just call this another great chapter in the whole story of Star Wars. I really don't care whether or not it's Boba Fett, Mandalorian, or Luke Skywalker. I love Star Wars. And, but one thing in particular that I kind of noticed was the look of the Weequay's face after Cobb was shot by Cad. And he looks up, and I'm thinking in my mind, wouldn't it be great if he had a cousin named Hondo with a bunch of pirates he could call on, and next week we could see them rush into town. And, you know, Hondo's got that history with Boba, and he was the one that owned the Slave One before A New Hope. So I'd like to see a little bit of flashback to that exchange and how all that went down. But anyway, thanks for everything you guys do. Looking forward to the rest of the show. Good night.
You know, I just want Hondo to walk in and say, "Fire spray? What is a fire spray? This is a Slave One."
You changed the name? What are you thinking, huh?
Well, there is a lot of love for Hondo Ohnaka. And I know, Jim, he seems to be a character for some people they can't get enough of, and other people are like, okay, maybe I've had enough of Hondo Ohnaka. And you know, he sort of anchors the attraction there at Galaxy's Edge, I think, the Millennium Falcon ride. And
right.
And you know, no knock against the character, but him as the anchor character for that attraction was just like, oh man, like they're really just not going to give us any like classic original trilogy stuff at all. So it kind of, maybe I hold him a little accountable for that, and I shouldn't as a character. It's like, you know, I mean, wouldn't you rather it be anchored by, you know, Han or Lando or Chewie or something like that?
Yeah, but I mean, it's so much easier to do an animatronic of a Weequay as opposed to a human standing up there. Welcome to the Millennium Falcon. I thought maybe 3PO would be great. He's always a great narrator for the saga, but they use him in Star Tours, so you don't want to overuse 3PO. But still, I think Hondo. It's fun seeing him at Smuggler's Run and everything. I just thought it was interesting that out of all the characters of Star Wars, they chose Hondo to be the anchor of that particular ride. But at the end of the day, I think it all works out just fine.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think we'll see Hondo Ohnaka? First of all, do you think we'll see him in live action, period? And do you think we'll see him emerge here sooner than later with Book of Boba Fett and this big battle that they're gearing up towards?
I don't see really too many additional characters coming into the mix with only one episode left. It seems like they've set the table now with the characters that they've revealed, and that's how it's all going to go down. Now, there could be a surprise. Lots of fans are throwing out what if theories, which is so great, and why I'm so thankful that this series is dropping on a weekly basis, because the what if theories are just, they're a hoot, man. I'm having a ball with all of them. And somebody says, what if Grogu chooses the chainmail armor and wants to rejoin the Mandalorian, and Luke wants to return him to the Mandalorian, but he can't for whatever reason. Luke can't go. And he says, but I have a friend. And the battle is going on Tatooine. And all of a sudden, the Millennium Falcon flies into the picture. And it's Han and Chewie delivering Grogu to the Mandalorian as this battle is happening. I thought that was a great what if, and we'll find out next week if we're anywhere in that neighborhood. But that sounds like a lot of fun to me. Now, in that situation, you're adding a new character to the mix, and it makes a lot of sense for the story for something like that to happen. To throw Hondo in at this point, I don't think makes much sense because you already threw in Cad Bane last week.
It's a little kitchen sink, right? You just throw it all in.
It's a little, yeah, almost too much. And Cad Bane was introduced last week. So we're just beginning his story in this bigger picture. And I believe we'll be seeing more of Cad Bane in the season finale. So he makes a great new antagonist to bring into the mix. And just by his mere presence, I think that increases the odds of us seeing someone like Hondo join the fray. Having an animated character like that. Seeing Cad Bane make his live action debut is just really something that's been sticking with me a lot here in the wake of the Boba Fett episode 6. So I think, there is a potential future for Hondo Ohnaka in Star Wars live action streaming series, but I don't see it happening in next week's episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I just think that they'd be loading on too much at a time when a lot of the characters they've introduced need to have their big moments.
Yep.
And I'm talking about Kersantin. I'm talking about, the mods. And I'm talking about, of course, Boba, Fennec.
Exactly, because the you could say like the star of next week is all of these stars coming together.
Right.
And to your point about just throwing someone else in, it's like, why waste that? It would be a waste of an entrance, of a grand entrance of a character like Hondo. Give him his own moment, instead of just throwing him in on top of everything, a big pile of characters. I can't remember if we were on the air when we talked about this last night. It's all a blur. Were we on the air when we were talking about the when this next episode might end? Because I know a lot of people are thinking that there'll be a big battle and there'll be some sense of resolution, and I can't help but think that where they're going is they're going to take you right up to the edge. The battle's going to begin, and that's when it's going to end, and then it's going to be continued in Mando season 3 opener. Though I think they've given us a fair deal of resolution at the ends of each Mando season. They haven't given us massive cliffhangers, and that would be a pretty big, massive cliffhanger.
Probably the biggest cliffhanger is, what is Grogu's choice going to be? Is it going to be the armor or is it going to be the lightsaber? That's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And that's probably been the biggest one of the whole season. Now, if the Mandalorian season, I don't see the Mandalorian season 3 picking up on this war for Tatooine. I think it's all going to play out next week, and that'll be it. We'll get resolution. I think that it could have ended on like a cliffhanger thing if Book of Boba Fett season 2 was the next thing coming, but it's not. There's no indication there will even be a season 2.
They got to wrap stuff up pretty well, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to wrap it up pretty well.
Wow.
And keep it all nice and tidy.
And a 55-minute episode, huh? That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I hope it's a long one. It's a long one.
Me too.
Clean the slate and give the Mandalorian a fresh start for season 3 so he can go off on his thing. Because this is about Boba Fett. It has to resolve all of the things that Boba Fett put into motion.
Right. It started with Boba. It's got to end with Boba. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Will we see the Weequay bartender though again? That's a big question.
Everyone
that guy
wants
was
to
played
know.
he was played by an actor, W. Earl Brown, who co-starred with Timothy Oliphant in Deadwood as Dan Doherty, a bartender and local enforcer. And,
we covered, as a matter of fact, here on RFR or the other show that we did, and I can't remember which, we covered George's love of Deadwood. I remember there have been multiple times where George would talk. I think he may have sent one of his George letters to the crew, the cast and crew when the series ended. But he was on record many times talking about what a fan he was of the show. So it makes you wonder, like, you got these Timothy Oliphant. Now, I didn't watch Deadwood. I don't know if you did, but we were hearing from listeners and watchers on the after show that he's playing a similar character, Oliphant, as he did in Deadwood. And then you got this bartender guy. He was the sheriff. Okay.
Yeah. Very similar. And just, the way he moseys around and, says, I reckon, and all that stuff. I mean, it is very derivative of his character from Deadwood.
Well, you think
Deadwood, of course, a show I haven't seen since it originally aired. And that was like 20 something years ago, if I remember correctly. I think it was in the late 90s.
Yeah, it was one of those. It came, I think, on the heels of The Sopranos and some of that, that golden age of HBO.
HBO could do no wrong at that time. And so naturally, I was watching everything they were throwing up there.
So do you think there's something to this, about this being maybe a little tribute to George and his love of Deadwood? It just seems kind of coincidental. Or because... Or has that just always been the vibe that they were going after with this show?
It's just the vibe.
Yeah.
I think it's just the natural vibe. And when they're like, oh, we could get Oliphant. Well, we know, we'll make him a sheriff. It just almost seems natural.
Yeah. I guess there's a part of me that just wants to think that, George is ringing up the cell phone on, Filoni or Favreau, and we're like, here, get that Timothy Oliphant. He's not doing much these days.
Gotta get him. But I think that, it's funny to think of like how things have changed in Hollywood and typecasting and all that. There would be a day when an actor would bristle at the idea of returning to the genre that he was once famous for being an actor in,
Yes.
Even Christopher Lee, when he saw that he was named Count Dooku in episode 2. I think he went to George. Really, George? Really? I think he did. Count. Because obviously he's most well known for playing Count Dracula in the old Hammer films. There'd be a time when you'd hear an actor openly bristle, but it seems like Oliphant accepted this with wide open arms. I have some other trivia about the episode from Antonio from New Jersey. He's a Patreon supporter, and he's the guy who let me know that W. Earl Brown is the one who played the Weequay bartender, much resembling his role in Deadwood. He also says Deputy Scott. Remember Deputy Scott?
Oh, how could we forget Deputy Scott?
That sad sack.
The most Star Warsy name of all time,
He was played by J.J. Dashnaw, who's the full armor Boba Fett body double. So another body double getting
the
some
full
screen
armor
time.
Boba body double.
Yes. So when Boba's wearing his helmet and his armor, that's the guy who is in there when Tim Morrison can't negotiate a corner in Jabba's palace with that helmet on. Those outtakes would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Of Tim with the helmet on, walking into walls and things, tripping over things.
So how much do you do you think that Tim's in there much at all when the bucket's on?
Probably not much. No, probably not much at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's my guess. Those helmets are difficult to maneuver around in. Ask anybody who's cosplayed at a convention; they'll tell you. And these actors they don't have the experience or, quite honestly, the tolerance to learn how to do all that stuff. I don't know. That's kind of a mystery to me. I'm just filling you in with some of my own opinion. But I'd love to get a definitive answer on something like that. And of course, Lucasfilm is going to be cagey about it because they want their stars to be in the spotlight at all times. They don't want the body doubles to be in the spotlight. They want the star of the show.
Frankly, look at, I mean, gosh, Star Wars has a long history with this. You think of the character of Darth Vader. Darth Vader was played by a number of individuals, from the voice of James Earl Jones, of course, to David Prowse, to Bob Anderson. As you know, I don't think Dave Prowse was swinging the lightsaber much around. I think that was always Bob.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that. And also, when you think about the guest at ICCCon, the star guest, Anthony Daniels. There was a time when Lucasfilm, when the original film Star Wars came out, Lucasfilm was running with the notion that C-3PO was actually a functioning robot that they had somehow crafted. And so they weren't letting Anthony take any credit for the role or do any interviews or anything. They just left him alone. And they were kind of just like rolling with that a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a little insulting, really, if you think about the actor behind the plating, the droid plating.
Yeah, it was one of those things. We talked to him. Yeah, I was going to say we talked to him about that. And just when you think that these actors have, you know, you've heard everything from them, then all of a sudden they come out with something new. And that was, I believe, something that he put in his autobiography, Jim, that you picked up on, that you hadn't really heard of before. And we talked to him about that. That was absolute news to me, that he was sort of put, you know, they didn't want to show the man behind the curtain, the man behind the droid, because they kind of drunk on their own ingenuity a little bit.
Yeah. They were creating an illusion, you know, and Hollywood was always kind of shady in that department. I mean, because that's what they do. There was also illusions.
Yes. If there was also an aspect about 3PO and R2, and I can remember this because I think I was the right age for this, you know, being 5-6 years old. And it was also at the time when I was watching shows like The Muppets, and, you know, you would see, you'd go to the Muppet movie, and the opening credits would come up, and it would be starring Kermit the Frog, starring Miss Piggy. Yeah. It wasn't until the very, very end, and I think because of the union rules, that you had to have the Frank Oz's and the Jim Hensons mentioned. And I got the sense that maybe that might be what George was going for. He really didn't want to break the fourth wall. R2-D2 was R2-D2. C-3PO was C-3PO. And you know, like you never really saw the Muppeteers, you didn't really see Anthony Daniels. But for an actor, that's not an easy pill to swallow, especially when, you know, all the other actors are being, going on all these talk shows, and they're getting all this PR. Yeah.
You feel left out.
Right.
You're like, what did I not put into my acting performance that everyone else did? Right. I had to wear all this stuff in Tunisia, all this gold plating. And then how do you cool off? You take the gold plating off, and it's a black bodysuit. In Twin Suns. I mean, you could just be roasting out there. I know it's not Twin Suns in Tunisia, but
might as well
feels like it. Might as well be, exactly.
Right.
There are a few other things I wanted to talk about as far as the after show goes. You know, a lot of people, especially YouTubers, they really thoroughly research everything, and they build their case for things. Me and Jason, we're like jazz musicians when it comes to our Star Wars conversation, and things go off in tangents and down different directions, and we're always just improvising. And a lot of this stuff are like these brainstorms we have, and it all happens during the show with the mics turned on. It's just natural reactions to things. We're talking sometimes, and we're counting on our memories to inform our analysis. And sometimes the memories are a little fuzzy. And specifically, some of my memories of Revenge of the Sith were a little fuzzy, so much so that I rewatched it today. I had to, because there were two things that came up in the after show that left me feeling a little unfulfilled after we turned the mics off. The first one is when we're talking about the Jedi who were protecting Grogu in the flashback when Luke did the Vulcan mind meld with Grogu, and they looked back at Order 66 through Grogu's eyes, and we saw 3 Jedi get taken down by clone troopers. Well, I was convinced that the center Jedi was Sindralig, played by Nick Gillard. Nick Gillard, who was the stunt coordinator for the prequels, he played this Jedi that was protecting the younglings in the Jedi Temple. And I said, that's who that center Jedi was. And I even referenced the hologram in which Sindralig can be seen wielding his lightsaber as Obi-Wan and Yoda witness Order 66 being carried out on the hologram. What I failed to remember, but it was Anakin Skywalker who stuck his saber through Sindralig's stomach and killed him. In my mind's eye, I was seeing him deflect blaster bolts, but it was Anakin. When I think of those holograms, I always think of that moment when Palpatine is talking to Anakin and Anakin is on his knee. That's when, Obi-Wan and Yoda realize that Anakin has fallen to the dark side.
Yeah.
But I forgot it was Anakin who actually killed Sindralig. So it couldn't have been those troopers shooting him down. Which is a shame because I thought that was a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
And that those Jedi are now still anonymous.
Okay. So maybe they were meant to be insert generic Jedi here.
Yeah.
Like some of the ones you see in the Battle of Geonosis running across, you know who I'm talking about. They look like they're cosplaying a little bit there. Some of them in that battle. Some of them are great. Like there was a lot of thought put into them. But then there's a few that's like, as generic as can be.
And some of them might have even been in a boy band. And we'll have more on that later.
Yes.
But
yeah, we will.
But a very famous boy band. But with Boba Fett, another thing that came up that was sort of a mystery was how did Luke Skywalker acquire Yoda's lightsaber?
Mm-hmm.
I thought naturally he took it from Yoda's hut after Yoda passed away. But we reviewed the footage live on the show, and I could not see Yoda in possession of the lightsaber. When he escapes from the Senate Rotunda after battling Sidious, he definitely loses his robe. But I could have sworn I saw that little lightsaber clipped to his belt when he jumped into Bail Organa's speeder. And then we rewatched the footage, and I could see no sign of the lightsaber. Well, a lot of people have screen grabbed this one brief shot of Yoda in Bail's speeder. And there's a screen grab actually in our email, Jason, from Andrew C.K. Andrew C.K. gave us a screen grab from
see if I can find
Revenge
that.
of the Sith on Disney Plus. He just sent it today. And he believes he sees the lightsaber clipped to Yoda's belt as Yoda is sitting down in Bail Organa's speeder.
All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see what we can find out here.
There you have it.
Oh, okay. Look at that. Wow. That's crazy because I've also seen screen grabs of Yoda right before he jumps into Bail Organa's speeder, and you don't see the lightsaber.
No, it's nowhere to be found.
So
he does have this communications device. It's very similar to the one that Qui-Gon was using when he was on Tatooine.
Yeah, the Lady Razor.
Yeah, right. It's a refashioned lady's razor for hairy legs, being used instead as a comm in the Star Wars universe after being fitted with greeblies and whatnot. But that's what I believe we're looking at here in the photo, in this screen grab. That's the communications device Yoda uses to summon Bail to that little...
Hurry!
It was a good one, Swank. But yeah, so you see him clip that to his belt right as he jumps into Bail's speeder. So he was carrying that on him during, I guess, the entire battle with Palpatine and everything. He just had it on his inner robe. But the saber is gone.
Saber's gone.
So yeah, so I don't know.
But there's not a moment, Jim, when you were rewatching the battle, the duel. There wasn't a moment where the saber flies off and they don't make a dramatic beat out of that.
It happens when Palpatine hits Yoda with the Sith lightning, and Yoda puts up a force block, and the two irresistible forces just sort of implode and knock Palpatine back. It knocks Yoda back, and that's when Yoda grabs on the pod.
And the nails.
Pod, his claw scratches on it, then he falls. The first thing that falls you see is his cloak. Now people are bringing up issues of a Marvel comic that feature Mas Ameda in possession of Yoda's lightsaber, and he destroys it. Jason is now pulling up.
I'm scrubbing.
He's scrubbing through the Sidious Yoda battle from in 4K. If you could rewind just a little bit to where they have the Force lightning and there's that little implosion that knock them both back. This is the moment.
Oh, there goes the lightsaber.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, there it goes. You do see it fall. Now, a lot of this stuff was hard for me to review as we were doing the live after show last night. Now, could Yoda have snagged it? Because Yoda does fall down into that same area. It's possible he snagged it, but we have no visual evidence of Yoda picking up a saber, nor do we see Yoda in possession.
There it is. That's when he loses it. It does blow right out of his hand.
First bit of Sith lightning knocks it right out of his hand. And yes, there is a dedicated shot to the saber falling. You see it fall right out of his hand, and there it goes down to the bottom of the Senate Rotunda. But again, as I say, that's where Yoda also ends up going.
Right. Yes.
Eventually. So there is the potential he snagged it. Again, we're dealing with a similar situation with the end of Return of the Jedi, when Luke throws away his saber in protest of doing battle. And he somehow has it clipped to his belt at the Ewok celebration. And then we see Luke, obviously, in full possession of his green saber via the Mandalorian in the Book of Boba Fett. So it's sort of a mystery. But we can fill in the blanks by just saying Yoda snagged it when he got knocked down to the floor of the Senate. That's the best I can do for you.
Yeah, he does see his. He does watch. It's. There's an interesting thing here. I'll flip back to it. Rather than seeing him reunited with his lightsaber, you can see here he looks up and the cloak is just now hitting he fell faster than the cloak, and now he's crawling through, and you'll see this communications device that Jim was talking about. Yeah, and he pulls it right from his belt, in the spot where you can see it later in the speeder. It's kind of interesting to look at the fight, this duel edited where you don't have it interspersed with anything else. You're just seeing all the cuts of the of this battle. Here he is. He's about to jump. I see nothing hanging from the belt. I don't even see
the belt. It's there. It's there. You can see it. There he drops, and then you see it there just for a brief instant. But that's the communications device. That's not his lightsaber. So this is just one of those mysteries that might be best left unsolved.
Yeah.
I said, it's very similar to the Luke Skywalker situation on Death Star.
Or as Maz Kanata said, it's a story for another time. Right? When you see a lightsaber come out of nowhere, that's the line. Somehow, his lightsaber has returned.
So those are two things that really had me scratching my head. Also, the Jedi Temple. You asked me during the after show if I think that's the same one that Kylo Ren destroys in the sequels. I said absolutely. I like the poetic rhythm of it. Mm-hmm. But Paul Bateman provided me with some screen grabs of the appearance of Luke's Academy in The Last Jedi, and it does look like a vastly different environment. And
here's the one. Here's from Last Jedi.
Guys like Kyle Newman and me, we were trying to sort of justify, well, maybe it's just a different angle. And Paul's like, impossible, surrounded by woods, and there's forestry on the Book of Boba, and there's mountains in
Yeah, so here's...
I don't know. I mean, doing these screen grabs and looking at all that stuff to determine yes or no, I don't know. I mean, it sure looks like this is covering a vast area.
It sure does.
So,
I see these mountains and these hills back here, and these trees could have all been, cut down, right? I mean...
Yeah, by the androids who needed them for their raw material to build these buildings.
I'm going to defer to Paul because, he's
Always.
Paul. But
yeah,
just a guy sitting here with a podcast, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at this and I'm going, yeah, 30 years later, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just a simple man trying to do a podcast in the universe.
Makes sense to me.
Debatable stuff, but a lot of fun.
Oh, I've got one. Can I get one?
Sure.
I said 2 weeks ago that Chrysanthemum was played by Dave Bautista.
Ooh.
And but the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was the Bond henchman, former WWE superstar. But I was wrong. And it's actually played by a guy, Kerry Jones. So Kerry Jones is Chrysanthemum, just like you could always tell by looking at Peter Mayhew's eyes. Those are Chrysanthemum's eyes right there. You know it's him. So Kerry Jones also played one of the Predators in the Predators film, the one with Topher Grace, that one. So I don't want to take any credits away from Kerry Jones for sure.
Yeah,
but
he's also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a spectacular movie. All right, one last thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to bring it up because it resulted in a funny joke, but somehow the information was relayed on our show that Billy D. Williams shared a birthday with Groundhog Day.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
don't tell me
Billy
this is
D's
true.
Billy D's birthday is in April. I didn't fact check it at the time because you set up such a great joke by saying it. I said, so does this mean if Billy D sees his shadow that spring will be more sexy?
All right. I've got to go back. I know I can find this clip because apparently this he wasn't the mayor. He was this guy that was he was definitely a city councilman or something. He was presiding over this local Groundhog Day, ceremony. And he was being very official. He's like, and this day is shared by many others, including, and he went on and he's like, Billy D. Williams. And he was reading all these birthdays of, of celebrities that shared the birthday or shared their birthday with Groundhog Day. And Billy D. Williams, like, oh my God, Billy D. Wow, what a coincidence. I'm about to do a show tonight. And I'll bring this up on the show. So apparently this guy didn't know what the heck he was talking about.
Well, that's what you get for doing your Star Wars research by listening to the mayor of Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, or wherever.
Wherever it was, I don't know.
It
was somewhere
you're
in New
the
York.
Star Wars expert here, not him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, how
but
dare I?
I didn't know. I didn't know that. It was funny though. So,
yeah.
But I guess that's it.
Okay.
That pretty much puts the wraps on the Book of Boba Fett after show. The after show there's just so much to talk about this week. It can't be contained to just the after show itself.
Oh, for sure.
And this is just getting us primed for next week, where I'm sure the discussions will not only cover several podcasts, but several months of podcasts from the way this is all being set up. I believe next week, Kyle Newman will be joining us on the weekly RFR with Cynthia to help us break down the entire season of the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah,
that's exciting.
Of course we know that schedules shift around and change a lot, but that's the plan, is to have those two join us.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Kyle and Cynthia. Cynthia's she's a big Star Wars fan, and she's known in pop music circles. Cynthia's Cyn, C-Y-N. She's a protege of Katy Perry's. And she's Kyle Newman's better half, and she'll be joining us. I met her, late last summer.
Yeah.
And the first thing she said to me is, "Hey, I want to be on Rebel Force Radio." I was like, "Oh, that's what all you pop stars say."
Yeah, that's right. We know.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
You know, I remember the days when I had no idea who this Sebastian Stan guy was. Had no clue. And then I started catching up, and by catching up, I mean actually watching and paying attention to the Marvel movies. And of course, now I know who Sebastian Stan is, and I can't. Every time I see him in one of these movies or in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I go, "Oh my God, it's that guy! It's the Luke Skywalker guy." And it is really uncanny. There are certain moments, certain looks, gestures, and you go, "Wow, he would be a natural." But I always wondered, has anybody said and asked him? What does he think? He's already got this great gig, but apparently somebody asked him.
Yeah, Esquire. He appeared in a video for Esquire as he's going out there to promote Pam and Tommy, which is a series about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. Like, as if we couldn't get enough of those guys 25 years ago. Now they were everywhere for a time.
Oh, yeah.
Usually with their clothes off. And both of them, very impressive. But Pam and Tommy, so Sebastian is playing Tommy Lee in this thing. They say he completely transforms into the former Motley Crue drummer, or I should say current Motley Crue drummer. But he talked a little bit about the fan support he'd been receiving for him to play Luke Skywalker in an upcoming Star Wars show or movie.
Look, it's really kind, and never say never. Mark Hamill is my father, and he knows that. And I call him every Christmas to tell him, just want you to know I'm around.
So he's having fun with that. I don't know how, never say never. I don't know if that's a tease for anything, and I don't think it is, because with the advancements in the deepfake technology, it's almost like Sebastian, who we don't need him.
Right.
We have a team of wizards at ILM and
but look at
other
that.
boutiques. Well, that's interesting when you put Luke Skywalker's hair on Sebastian Stan, there is definitely a strong resemblance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting. Maybe I just don't have the best taste in my mouth after watching the character of Han Solo being played by someone else. It just didn't work for me. It might work for me 15, 20 years from now, but it isn't working for me right now, not by a long shot. And I don't want that kind of experimentation going on. And that goes for Millie Bobby Brown. Don't want to see her play Princess Leia. I'm really digging the special effects nature of how they want to bring back these characters. As risky as it is, it seems like the safest way to go.
Yeah.
As far as Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, but God bless Sebastian Stan. He sure seems like a nice guy.
You watch that Pam and Tommy movie? Hey, that was like,
oh yeah,
prime in your days of, following all that stuff going on in the news for for the radio and all that. OJ, Pam and Tommy.
All the videos.
Well, it was research.
It was so huge.
It was. I mean, you had to watch the videos because it was your job.
Very professional.
You had to stay up in that stuff.
Yeah, I have to stay up on that stuff. Swank, get your mind out of the gutter.
All right. Hey, speaking of Solo, you just mentioned that you weren't too keen on seeing Han Solo played by somebody else. I know two guys that were very keen on watching Han Solo being played by somebody else. That was Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And Jim, I don't have. How much have we heard from these guys since their unceremonious firing? I don't think we've heard really anything from them.
No, they keep quiet, and they are put on the spot finally. This time in an interview with who else but Josh Horowitz, and on his podcast Happy, Sad, Confused. We've talked about Josh many times, mainstream reporter who is never afraid to ask the hardcore Star Wars questions when the opportunity presents itself. That's why I like Josh, because he gets answers out of people that other reporters are worried about going for. And this time he's talking to both Lord and Miller. It appears Phil Lord is the dominant of the two in interview situations.
Is he the guy that looks like Egon / Lyle Lovett?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. With the hair.
Yeah. He's got the hair. Yeah.
He's got like that Billy Mack hair going.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does have an Egon thing, Phil Lord. And he talks about his feelings about getting fired from Solo. And this is very rare to hear either of the two talk about this. And I just picked a couple of little quick highlights here from the conversation. You can see the full clip on Josh Horowitz's website, his Happy, Sad, Confused website, or listen to his podcast. But Phil Lord talks about his feelings, which were damaged after getting fired from Solo. And you'll hear Phil, he does take the high road here.
We learned so much. We got to work with the greatest people. We made so many friends. We put what in animation we call pencil miles, under our belts, and it made us better filmmakers in the long run. So in a funny way, there's obviously there were some negative emotions associated with that. But the way I feel about it now is just like I feel about all these projects, which is you're just trying to become better and learn and collaborate with people. And that doesn't go away.
So I think some time has healed the wounds for Lord and Miller. He does acknowledge there were some hard feelings there. And, they were hired to make a Star Wars comedy based on Han Solo.
Yeah.
But I think they abandoned any sort of notion that they were doing a Star Wars movie and really were leaning hard on doing a Lord and Miller movie. And we've heard Star Wars creatives like Robert Rodriguez talk about how this is something that is enticing, but should largely be avoided. You need to make a Star Wars movie or TV show in tone that is consistent with the rest of Star Wars. But they were giving marching orders from Kathleen
I was just going to say, that all sounds great, yes, but when you're being told by the CEO, this is what we want. And Jim, they were so out there. I remember those early days. We want to make comedy Star Wars movies. We want to make war Star Wars movies. We can do all these genres within Star Wars, and they didn't realize that Star Wars is a GD genre in and of itself.
This is true. And it took some while for that education to sink in. But Lord and Miller were definitely hired to make a comedy Star Wars film. Yep. But I think they were leaning more toward making a Lord and Miller comedy as opposed to making a Star Wars comedy. And then their real problem was with Larry Kasdan. They butted heads pretty hard with Mr. Kasdan. Not so much Kathleen Kennedy. A lot of people want to say, "Oh, Kathleen Kennedy, they hated her and all this," but it was Larry Kasdan. That was where the real friction came from. And when you talk about clout within Hollywood, specifically within Star Wars, Larry Kasdan has Lord and Miller beat. And so they got their marching papers and they got thrown out. Here's one little tease they give about Solo. There was some interesting casting that could have happened if Lord and Miller were able to pull it off. And this is something I'd never heard before.
Is it true? Okay, the one last thing just on casting. You guys have done such amazing casting over the years. Is it true you almost convinced Christian Bale to be in a Star Wars movie? Did you come close on that?
I'm not sure about almost. I can't confirm it was discussed.
Christian Bale in Star Wars.
Dryden Voss, maybe?
Maybe, but they were going after a CG character.
Oh, they were going after did they say that in the clip? Did I miss that?
Well, no, that's what we know of Solo, was when Lord and Miller were shooting it, Dryden Voss was a CG
Yes,
character.
That's right. You're right.
Yes. And so they had shot all that stuff, but when it came time to reshoots, they couldn't make the character CG because they didn't have the lead time that animation would have needed. Dryden Voss was originally played by the late Michael K. Williams from The Wire, and he was playing the CG version of the character. When they brought in Paul Bettany, apparently Michael K. Williams was unavailable to come in for all the reshoots, so they had to hire Paul Bettany and completely reimagine what the antagonist for Solo would be like.
I forgot that Michael K. Williams passed away. Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, over the summer. Yeah. Over the summer. He OD'd in New York. Sad story. Sad story, because he's a talented guy. Another one of George Lucas's favorite shows was The Wire.
Yes.
He often would comment on The Wire and Deadwood when he was producing his live action series that never saw the light of day. But Lord and Miller, so Christian Bale possibly could have been in Star Wars, and the two of them feel like now that the bitter feelings have subsided and their careers have gone on without Star Wars, gone on just fine, I might add, without Star Wars, they feel good about the experience because of the experience itself, and it made them better filmmakers. So taking the high road, someday, I just get the feeling by looking at these two guys, someday they're going to tell the full story, and it's not going to be sugar coated. It's gonna be eye opening.
Maybe right here on Rebel Force Radio.
Sure.
Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody.
All right, Star Wars in pop culture, where we like to show you how Star Wars is just popping up all over the place. Star Wars references here, there, and everywhere, including the It's Always Sunny podcast.
Yeah, lots of people were tipping us off to this one. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The 3 stars of that show, they have their own podcast. And
Danny DeVito?
It's just them.
Danny DeVito?
No, Danny's not on it.
Oh, okay.
It's the 3 guys.
The 3 guys, yeah.
Yeah, Caitlin Olsen isn't on it either. But Charlie Day and the other 2 guys whose names are escaping me right now. I'll tell you who they are. You got Charlie, you got Rob McElhaney, and Glenn Howerton. Yes, I should have known that because I do watch Always Sunny. You know, it's the longest running series in television's history. Did you know that?
You're kidding me. I did not know that. It's been on that long?
There is some statistic. Maybe it's live action comedy. That's what I want to say. It could be live action comedy. I mean, now I'm looking at the list because that's what you do when you have a podcast and something comes up. You start Googling it, so you can appear.
Or
to be
you wait
smarter
until
than you
your
actually are.
listeners correct you, send you an email. Show at rebelforceradio.com.
All right, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen, is TV's longest running live action sitcom.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Longest running. And it just acquired that crown last month.
Good for them.
I knew it was something. I knew it was something. Longest live action sitcom. So they got a podcast. Because now they fully committed their lives entirely to Always Sunny.
Right.
But when they're not shooting the show year after year, they're talking. These guys, they seem like great friends and they have great chemistry. And the show is funnier than hell. I've been watching it since day one. I don't think I've seen every episode, but probably most of them. And they were just shooting the you-know-what, and they were talking about bears attacking and things like that. And one of them says, well, I would just if a bear attacked me, I'd grab a bone and shove it into his mouth, just like Luke Skywalker did. And then that opened up the floodgates. And they started talking about the Rancor. And, I think this is kind of appropriate to be hearing all this because I think this upcoming week on Book of Boba Fett, we're going to see him ride the Rancor. So, the Always Sunny guys talk about the Rancor, and it's kind of in a sweet way. They talk about how his death, the Rancor's death, kind of provided us with a sense of sympathy for the beast. So let's go to the Always Sunny guys and hear their discussion about the Rancor.
I love that, he kills this, this monster, this monstrous, scary fucking creature that, basically its whole thing is it eats the people that get thrown into that pit, right? And it's scary, and it's got a scary mouth, and it looks scary, and it sounds scary. And then Luke kills it, and as it's dying, it sounds like a sweet little, it's like, and you kind of feel bad for it. And then the trainer, the guy the handler the Rancor's handler, that's this like fat guy, comes waddling in and is crying. He's crying because he's
really
so
fucked the
upset
kids
that
at home up, but you know.
Yeah, I just thought that was such a good touch. Like that.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Somebody's
smart.
sad. Yeah.
But most
like
movies in the 80s, they would not have portrayed a creature like it was more simple than that. It was like this is a bad monstrous creature. And the good guy's going to kill it, and you're not going to feel bad at all because it was a bad creature. But in this one, you're like, no. It's like there was someone who cared for this creature, who fed this creature, who took care of it. And I just think that's brilliant. So good job, George Lucas.
Good job, Star Wars.
Great.
Yeah, good job, Star Wars.
I think you're going to make it.
I hadn't, thought of it like that. It's one of those scenes that, I've like known my whole life, and I've never like stood outside of it to think about it. But it is really part of, and I know, Kirsch didn't direct Return of the Jedi, but I think with what he did in Empire, where he set that tone, where he just delivered character moment upon character moment upon character moment, and it seemed to always be looking at in every shot, in every scene, what can I do in this moment to make this feel perhaps more real, more complete. And it's a laugh, it does get a laugh, I think, in that moment, but it does also make the universe feel more real in a way, because you're looking at other angles of it. Yeah, it was a monster, but yes, it also has this other side to it. And yes, there's this guy that takes care of it. And it, it goes back to that whole, notion of world building and the depth. I would love to know whose call that was. Was that what is it a George thing? Was it a pickup later? It'd be funny. The guy comes out and he's crying. It's like someone's puppy dog, or whatever, or what, or was it Richard Marquand? I need to read the book, The Making of Return of the Jedi, because honestly, it is a bit of a mystery to me. Richard Marquand, you know what contributions were made to Star Wars by Irvin Kershner. You hear George Lucas talking about it. You certainly hear Irvin Kershner talking about it, documentaries. Richard Marquand is a very mysterious figure in the history of Star Wars.
Well, he passed away at such a young age. We never really got to hear his take on what went down on the set and during the making of The Return of the Jedi. It seems like he had his hands full. A lot of people think he's just a puppet for George Lucas.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, I mean, the guy, he put in his hours and did the job a director's supposed to do. But he did have George Lucas there with him. And by most reports that I've heard, George Lucas was constantly on the set during the shooting of Return of the Jedi. I don't know. I've never really heard Richard talk about it much. Maybe Richard would say something like, it was a little restrictive having George there. And then if you ask George, he'd probably say, oh, it was great because I was there and he could ask me any questions. And so, it's always a two-way street.
Yeah.
But the Rancor, I mean, we are being almost developed to feel sympathy for Boba's Rancor in a way right out of the box.
Yeah.
The Rancor was depressed, according to Machete, and Boba bonded with it like a guy would with his Labrador Retriever. It just, you felt that you didn't feel anything evil coming off of the Rancor. When we were introduced to the Rancor in Return of the Jedi, I mean, it's pure evil. It comes out, it's in a rage.
Oh, the first time you don't see it. That's what's so crazy. With Ula, they don't show it. It's too horrific to even show. And then Luke goes down, and that builds the anticipation and the fear, and then the door slowly rises up, and wow, it's a great entry of a creature.
Yeah, and that scene with the Rancor keeper is sweet. I remember as a kid feeling sympathy definitely for the Rancor, feeling a sense of loss because that guy was crying. I didn't really think it was funny. I thought it was sort of sad.
Maybe the grown-ups thought it was funny, and the kids.
Yeah. I was 14 when Return of the Jedi came out. So not a little kid, but I mean, always an animal lover my whole life.
Yeah.
So I kind of get that universal feeling, love for a pet. And so that was Glenn Howerton, who is on Always Sunny. He was doing carrying the bulk of that conversation about the Rancor. And Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that Glenn and Sam Witwer are like really tight with each other. You know, they hang out, they're best buddies. I got a feeling that Glenn may have been subjected to a Return of the Jedi screening with Sam, because that sounds like something Sam would say. It really does.
It does.
That sort of insight comes from Witwer, and I think his influence must be felt somewhere on Glenn Howerton when he makes statements about the Rancor and all of that. It almost sounds like a Witwer type of monologue there.
I'm sensing Rancor. Or is it Rancor? Rancor? I know how to spell it.
All right.
LD.
Another one of Star Wars' mysteries is the rumors that we were treated to during the production of Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Boy bands were hot, man. It was all about 98 Degrees and Backstreet Boys and Nsync. This is before Justin Timberlake was Justin Timberlake. He was Justin of Nsync. And I remember the early days of the internet when the rumors started to bubble up that said, guess what? The boys from Nsync are going to be in Star Wars. They're going to play Jedi. I thought, what? Come on, man. Come on. They need to be on MTV, not in a galaxy far, far away. What's going on with this? And it never happened. Or did it?
Well, I'll tell you what, just the notion of Nsync being in the follow-up to The Phantom Menace scared a lot of fans because they were still licking their wounds from what they felt were missteps the Star Wars saga was taking with The Phantom Menace. Jar Jar Binks, Little Annie, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we've heard it all. We've heard it all. Yet, somehow, we're still huge Star Wars fans all these years later. Go figure. But the idea of Nsync then appearing in the next movie did scare a lot of fans, and the buzz was pretty hot about it when it was going down. We got an email from Logan, who is a podcaster, a filmmaker. He wears a lot of hats. Logan Seculo, and he is a guy who is producing a new podcast by Melissa Joan Hart. She starred in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Clarissa Explains It All, etc. And she's hosting a podcast now called What Women Binge with Melissa Joan Hart. And her guest was Chris Kirkpatrick from Nsync. And Chris does talk about his time shooting Attack of the Clones and eventually being cut from the film. So we have some clips here, courtesy of Logan. Thank you, Logan. Logan also hosts a Walt Disney World podcast called WDW Today. And he has booked a trip on the Galactic Star Cruiser. So I told Logan, dude, you got to check in with us after your trip because I want to hear all about it. And hopefully we'll be able to hook up with Logan after his vacation. But for now, he gave us these clips from the new Melissa Joan Hart podcast with Nsync's Chris Kirkpatrick. And Chris talks about how the band, the boy band, was asked to be in Attack of the Clones.
So George Lucas' daughter was a big fan, came to one of our shows.
Do you remember this now?
And we freaked out. And we're all just around him going,
I would have freaked out
pushing his poor daughter probably out of the way just to be like, oh my God, George Lucas. And then Joey, who has no couth or anything at all, we need to be in the next movie.
Of course he did.
And I'm like, Joey, shut up right now. We're just meeting George Lucas. Like, let's just let it. And he goes, okay. And I'm like, great idea.
Yeah.
It's weird.
You need the guy like Joey. You know, sometimes you need a Joey. Cuts right to the chase.
Uncouth is sometimes exactly what you need. And it's so funny how things can happen off of little off-the-cuff comments like that. I remember when Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars Celebration, she goes into the R2-D2 room. These guys say, if you ever need an R2, call us. And what does she do? She reaches out, brings them onto the set. They got R2-D2 there, and they have the remote controls, and now they're employees of ILM. So crazier things have happened.
No doubt.
But when you have Nsync on your resume, that opens doors. So a little off the cuff comment like that actually gets you in a Star Wars film. And Chris talks about shooting the sequences for Attack of the Clones and why they were eventually cut from the film.
We went and filmed everything. We all got the little Jedi tails. We embarrassed ourselves in front of a green screen for about an hour and a half. And then we left and we were like, man, this is going to be awesome. We're going to be in Star Wars. And then we get contacted like a couple months later and they're like, yeah, so the fans, we kind of hinted that you guys were kind of going to be in it. And the fans kind of lost their stuff and said, we will not go see this movie or whatever if we were in it. So we got cut out. But there's still, at least amongst us, you know, rumors that the big fight scene in the arena, that we're down there somewhere in it.
Well, that would have to be where they are, right? That
Sure.
would have to be it. Now,
and I bet they are in the film. I bet they are somewhere in there. You just can't distinguish them from all the other little Jedi in the background.
You know, 20 some years later, it's like, oh, we sound terrible, us Star Wars fans. But you got to keep in mind, Jim, you were absolutely right to point out, this is a year or so after the fallout of the Phantom Menace, where we thought that maybe George had lost his edge a little bit. You know, the Jar Jar Binks thing, the fart jokes. I mean, all that. It was like, oh man, it's not galaxy far, far away. It's a little galaxy too close to here in some instances. And then when you hear that you're going to take the biggest boy band in the world at the time, and they were really at the top of their game, and throw them in there, we're all thinking like, wait a minute. All of a sudden it's going to be Justin Timberlake and what? This doesn't make any sense. This is ridiculous. It's going to take me out of it. I know you don't like that term, but it's going to take me right out of it. And this was early days of the internet. Fan forums were just starting to really come up. And so it's interesting to me, though, that the course correction happened as a result of fan outcry, because it wasn't all that formalized. It wasn't like it is today with social media. There was no social media. Mm-hmm. I don't even think MySpace was around, or it certainly wasn't used the way social media is used now. But the fact that Chris points out here that Lucasfilm said, look, it's the fans aren't happy about this, really is telling, I think.
Why do you think Jar Jar Binks had diminished screen time in episodes 2 and 3?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why. I mean, for as stubborn as George Lucas might seem, and for as bullheaded as he might seem sometimes too, he's not immune to criticism, and he does have his ears open. So that's one thing I did notice about George, and that's why, Jar Jar Binks wasn't featured in the films more, and that's why Nsync didn't end up being visible in the film. A couple other questions, though. We wonder, was Justin Timberlake there? That's the first thing I'd ask Chris
Inquiring
Kirkpatrick about
minds.
anything. I'd be like, was he there? Where is he now?
Right.
Things like that. And did Chris snag any souvenirs from the experience?
Justin didn't do it.
Oh, he didn't do it.
Only 3 of us did it.
Oh.
Me, Joey, and JC.
Oh, I feel like
the 3. But a funny story is, I remember when we were leaving and they had to take everything away and make sure we weren't, because I mean the packs, were dressed as these, Jedi, and like I take my little Velcro pack off and look, and it said Anakin on it. So they use them for, everybody. They just Velcro on your belt. But the only thing we could keep was our Jedi tails. Like we had these little rat tails. And we're getting ready to walk out. And I'm like, I do have a little Jedi rat tail.
Full-on rat tail.
But I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to keep ours. And I kept mine, and we're walking out. I'm like, JC. And he goes, nah, I don't need that, whatever. And I was like, what?
Instant regret.
So he walked out of the door, and I was like, give me his. And then on his 40th birthday, I think, I put it in a Ziploc bag and gave it to him. And he was like, no way.
And he was
like,
happy finally.
Yeah, I was like, see you, idiot.
Yeah. What do you think? You don't need you don't need it, huh? JC? Where are you now, sir?
Yeah. Right. Living off of all of his Nsync riches.
Well,
probably,
yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, that's the power of youth right there for you. Yeah, I don't need anything. Then one day, all of a sudden, Nsync isn't around and nobody's heard from you for many years. Maybe you do want that little rat tail back.
At least put it on eBay. Screen used.
Remember the good old days,
right? Well, that's cool. That you're right. That eventually, these stories come out, don't they? It might take a long time, but.
And then, of course, we do have, now this is a Rebel Force Radio exclusive, we do have an outtake from Attack of the Clones. This has never, ever been played publicly. It's never been released on a DVD or a Blu-ray or a CD-ROM. It's never streamed. This is super rare. It's only 1 minute and 22 seconds, but this is Nsync in a scene from Attack of the Clones. Very rare.
Strap in.
Master Windu, we have but one choice.
I know, Obi-Wan.
In order to save the universe from tyranny and oppression, we have to let Nsync kick the funk out Nizzity New School style.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nsync! Oh, girl, you know I love you.
All Jedis report to Space Station Alpha Quattro by order of the Force.
It ain't over yet. You come to drown my heart like you was Boba Fett. Without you, I feel so alone. Like I was attacked by clones. I'm a Jedi Knight in these Jedi days. I can't forget these Jedi ways. Yeah. These ones are fresh. I think you're dope.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, because you're my only hope.
Oh, man.
Rare.
Love it.
You're so dope. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope.
Chewie, get us out of here!
Oh, and I'll wrap things up for this week on Rebel Force Radio. But fear not, we will be back next week, starting with the Rebel Force Radio Book of Boba Fett after show. That's Wednesday. So the new show drops in the wee small hours Wednesday morning, and then we're back. We are here Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central. We'll be having a blast. But it'll be bittersweet because it just means, we got to wait a few more months for another Star Wars series, which we have on good authority will be, drum roll, Kenobi in May. We think that'll be the next Star Wars series drop on Disney+. But as we said earlier, we're going to be breaking down Book of Boba Fett for a long time, and I'm actually glad we have some of that time because I think we'll probably do some commentaries of these episodes, and no, we'll definitely fill the time. Don't worry. In the meantime, if you'd like to get more Rebel Force Radio in your life, we strongly suggest you check out Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. You just go to rebelforceradio.com and click on that Patreon banner on the right rail, as it's called, and you can check out a great community of Rebel Force Radio listeners and exclusive content you can't find anywhere else, including podcasts like RFR Comlink, RFR Q&A, The Babu Freaks, Clone Wars Declassified Remastered, and Star Wars Oxygen. That's all available when you become a member of Patreon, plus full show video of this show you're listening to right now. You can also jump to the head of the queue and calling in on shows like Book of Boba Fett After Show or the Bad Batch After Show and other great perks. You just join a community of the greatest Star Wars fans in the whole wide galaxy at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Please make sure that you also subscribe. Costs you nothing. And like our videos over on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. It is really a great, if you're new to the program especially, and you hear us making references or you hear our callers making references to bits and things that happened years and years ago, we've been at this a long time. Great way to get caught up is through the various playlists of content over at our YouTube channel. It really is it's a virtual archive of Rebel Force Radio content spanning the last 15 years, classic interviews, parodies, comedic bits, and, of course, the latest live streams are over there as well, and all of our after shows. New full show audio drops each and every week at a specified time, so be one of the first to listen to the latest episodes of Rebel Force Radio podcast when they drop. So please like and subscribe today. If you want to chat with us, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is show@rebelforceradio.com, show@rebelforceradio.com. Leave us a voicemail or email us a voice memo. If you want to drop that voicemail, you can do so at 708-320-1RFR, 708-320-1737. We're available on all of the social platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. The Twitter handle is RFR Rebel Force, so go there for your daily RFR updates, and the official website for everything and all things Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. If you want to help out the show, there's no better way than passing the word along to the Star Wars fans in your life. If they haven't heard of Rebel Force Radio, make sure that they do. Please subscribe, and if your podcatcher of choice allows you to do so, leave a review. We love those reviews. We read them all. I swear. Just one rule, please.
Make them good.
And we are streaming 24/7. Like I say, anywhere you can find great podcasts, you'll find us right here at Rebel Force Radio. Apple Podcasts, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Samsung, anywhere you can find podcasts. You'll find us here at Rebel Force Radio, and you'll find us here next week. Until then, for Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, because you're my only hope.